This short video provides a high-level summary of the regulatory compliance process for medical devices and in vitro diagnostic medical devices. There are several regulatory and statutory bodies that participate in this stage. The Information Commissioner's Office upholds data rights and enforces the Data Protection Act and the General Data Protection Regulation. The Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency ensures that medicines and medical devices meet standards of safety, quality, and efficacy. The MHRA oversees the notified bodies that ensure medical device manufacturers comply with the regulatory requirements before placing their devices on the market. They also have responsibility for the post-market surveillance of drugs and medical devices. The Health Research Authority regulates research using medical data in the UK. It ensures that research is ethically reviewed and approved. You must contact the HRA if you're doing a research project which requires medical data. The Care Quality Commission polices the quality of care services in England. The CQC ensures that patients receive effective and high-quality care. They also inspect, rate, and monitor services. They might fine or even prosecute providers that do not meet the standards. The General Medical Council regulates doctors and psychiatrists. The GMC also oversees medical education and training and sets standards for doctors. There are also several statutory and arm's-length bodies that perform specific functions such as issuing guidance and monitoring compliance with the law. There are three main bodies you must consider at this stage. The National Institute for Health and Care Excellence issues guidance for health and social care practitioners, as well as metrics and standards for commissioners. The National Data Guardian ensures that health and care information is safeguarded and used appropriately. NHS Digital produces information standards and gives advice to health and care organizations on information and cybersecurity. They issue guidance for app developers to ensure that apps placed on the NHS Apps Library perform against important criteria. As you go through the regulatory compliance process, it is important to start thinking about the reimbursement, procurement, and commercial models for your product. There are several organizations that can provide you with guidance and important information at this stage. Patient and patient groups can provide an avenue for the patient voice to be heard, but also flag any issues with a product. Nhs Supply Chain manages the sourcing, delivery, and supply of health products to the NHS. Supply Chain provides an integrated repository of the current contracts which innovators can consult. They also have a role in speeding up market access for health tech products by supporting the introduction of new technologies into existing frameworks. NHS Business Services Authority provides support services to NHS organizations. They can help entrepreneurs navigate the NHS contracting and procurement landscape. Gov.uk provides information about government contracts as well as guidance on how to sell to the public sector. The Academic Health Science Network helps innovators connect with a wider network of entrepreneurs and navigate the innovation pathway. It can also provide guidance to understand the NHS landscape and advise NHS organizations on commissioning and procurement. In May 2020, there will be a change in the regulatory landscape with the new Medical Devices Regulation and In Vitro Diagnostic Regulation. The MDR covers medical devices such as apps and software, reagents, appliances, and other articles intended by manufacturers to be used alone or in combination for human beings. The IVDR covers medical devices such as apps and softwares, reagents, pieces of equipment or system intended by the manufacturer to be used in vitro for the examination of specimens, including blood and tissue donations derived from the human body. The Medicine and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, also known as the MHRA, provides very clear guidance about the changes that will be introduced. Some of the major changes include that many software products and apps will be upclassed. Manufacturers will have to appoint at least one person responsible for regulatory compliance, and increased post-market surveillance responsibilities will be imposed on manufacturers. There are three types of risk classification under the old and new medical device and in vitro diagnostic medical device regulatory regime. The MHRA provides clear guidelines on device risk classification, which is available on their website. As mentioned previously, One of the main changes brought about by the MDR and IVDR 2020 is the upclassing of many software devices and apps, as well as the appointment of a person responsible for the entire regulatory process within a company. That person will have responsibilities covering quality management, regulatory documentation, post-market surveillance, and vigilance reporting. The CE marking process for both medical devices and in vitro diagnostic medical devices is quite similar. First, you need to carry out a conformity assessment based on the risk classification of your device. For devices that are Class 2 and above, these conformity assessments will be carried out by notified bodies under the instruction of the MHRA. If this assessment is successful, a declaration or certification of conformity is then given out depending on the risk classification. This will allow you to apply the CE mark on your medical device or in vitro diagnostic medical device. NHS Digital also provides guidance and toolkits on interoperability, cybersecurity, and data deletions on their website. There is currently no standard protocol for validating algorithms. However, the MHRA and NHS Digital are carrying out a research project to see how synthetic data might be used to validate algorithms. As there is no one responsible for regulating data quality, it is vital that you assess the quality of the data you have used to develop your product. You should have thought of testing for bias in your data or other limitations and made sure that this is reflected in the intended use of the device and your commercial claims. Once your product is on the market, you will need to identify the appropriate reimbursement and procurement routes. There are several bodies that can help you with this, as mentioned in the start of this video. Once you get commissioned by an NHS organization, you will have to go through a pre-deployment phase in which you will need to complete many administrative tasks like signing contracts or understanding what local IT systems you might need to plug into and how. You will need to submit a data access request to test your tool in the clinical setting you will eventually deploy in, as well as performing the necessary tests you need to do before going live. Once this pre-deployment phase is over, you will implement your solution and integrate it into service delivery. You should be careful if your device is used in combination with another, as there are very specific rules around this. The MHRA provides very clear guidelines on this. There are several post-market surveillance mechanisms that apply to manufacturers, medical practitioners, and patients. There are a whole host of proactive post-market surveillance mechanisms, such as a manufacturer's post-market surveillance system, plan and report, post-market clinical follow-ups, or customer surveys and focus groups. There are also reactive post-market surveillance mechanisms, such as the Yellow Card Scheme, the National Reporting and Learning System, ICO investigations, as well as CQC inspections. There are several bodies that have a role at this stage, as explained in the start of the video. Throughout your deployment phase within a service, you need to think about developing real-world evidence. This video is based on a research project that Reform did in collaboration with NHSX. We hope you found it useful, and please visit our website for more detailed content on the regulation of data-driven technologies in healthcare.